When matters get to where you think they're no longer bearable, remember that first dip into Jannah. Always remember that. Keep it in your mind. The most miserable man to face on the face of this earth. Just imagine the most miserable man on the face of the earth. Allah will take him on the judgment day in a dip, a little dip, not even a second, not even a millisecond, a little dip. And then we'll ask him, have you seen anything before? He forgets it. Just imagine that scene. That's vitamin for your patience. In conclusion, I'll leave you with wise words from my father. Words really worthy of being inscribed with golden ink because of their eloquent meanings, not because of only their eloquent meanings, but the time and place he said them in. At one point in prison, let me give you a background so you'll understand where they took place. At one point in prison, we were held in solitary. They put separatists on me and my own father, meaning he's in one wing of the prison and I'm in one wing. We can't communicate or see each other and speak to one another. The cells that we were in, if you were to bring a twin, not a queen or king size bed, a twin size mattress and try to put it in the cell, it will not fit. That mattress, that twin size mattress, not the queen or king size, that twin size mattress is too big to fit in the cell. That's how small it is. It's a solitary that was built in the 20s. It was built in the 20s and it wasn't made for long-term confinement. The warden passes by every week and stands before your cell. So one time he was in front of my cell. I said, why are we in solitary? He said, because you're terrorists recruiting and radicalizing inmates. He accuses me of being a terrorist and recruiting and radicalizing inmates. I said, well, what's your proof? He said, the Muslim chaplain wrote a long report about you. The Muslim chaplain wrote a long report about you. There's no point in arguing, and I never used to talk to them, but this time was one of the very few times I ever talked to them. The Muslim chaplain is the one who wrote the report. That's why our problem in this ummah is from the munafiqeen. And this chaplain is well known in the communities. I personally never knew him prior to going to prison, but it turned out months after going into prison and before the solitary, he himself told me his ex-wife and his daughter, who was a medical student, were among the people who were regular attendees to my classes before going to prison. This was his words to me. And then I remembered who he was talking about. They were those who never left my classes. The conditions of that solitary confinement were so extreme that during the 9-month stay we stayed in that particular solitary, they took many in body bags out of them. I told the warden, if you allege what you say, what about my father? He said the same, even though my father barely spoke to anyone in prison. I said, well, we are on separatists. Why can't I see him? He said, because you guys radicalize everyone, you're on separatists with everyone. I said, well, if you allege what you allege with being my father, that's like a disease. If you put us together, it's not going to be contagious to anyone else, according to what you say. The idiot thought a moment, and then he issued an order after he went that you can put the father and son together. And actually that was the best days of my prison stay in the company of my father. It was approximately maybe the last 3 to 4 months of the 9 months that we stayed in that particular solitary prison. And the point is, I see my father, and even before this situation and until today, he takes matters with a smile, patience, content. I never seen him disgruntled. Allahumma barik lah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him a longer life full of deeds. I had the upper bunk in the cell. That cell that is smaller than your twin size mattress, it has an upper and lower bunk. I got the upper bunk, and my father the lower bunk. And my father would pray, make a salah, would by the way, the size of it, the walk-in area is smaller than your prayer carpet. Walk-in space is smaller than your prayer carpet size, and then there's a toilet behind you. Laying in the upper bunk, I watch my father in salah, in reciting Quran, in smiling. He used to love to read out loud, and all the inmates would love to listen to him read Surah Al-Qaf every single night. Smiling and advising other inmates who shout to seek advice from him. And at times he would stand at the bars and almost like give a khutbah. And all the inmates, Muslims and non-Muslims, because there's bars and they can hear you if your voice is loud, he would give a khutbah and advise them to both the Muslims and non-Muslims. And in that solitary, many embraced Islam. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. When my iman would get weak, like Ibn al-Qayyim said, he said about his teacher Ibn Taymiyyah. He said, when we feel down, we would go to our Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah. They feel down, they go to Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah. He said, within moments, his words would reignite our iman, and that's what I seen of my father. A smile that never leaves his blessed face. May Allah grant him a long life full of deeds. Except in the dark nights, when he would cry and weep for Allah's mercy, forgiveness, in sujood and salah. Freezing in that prison was below zero, because the freezing weather, that was in Michigan, and it gets below zero, and that they would take the blankets from us. Imagine, in a weather that's below zero, in a building that has no function in heat. It's an asbestos manifest building with no function in heat. Sometimes they would pass by where they would purposely not give us food. Days, I say. Water would be all that we consume. Ruthless, relentless animals who return from Iraq, they want to exert their revenge on helpless prisoners. Actually, I shouldn't say animals, because that's disrespecting animals. To be just, there was some few who disapproved of this. I remember one Mexican guard who just returned from Iraq, and he got his citizenship as a Mexican national in the US. He got it as a US for fighting. There's a statute or a law where those who fight for a number of years can get, with the American Army, can get their citizenship. He used to stand in front of the bars, in front of our cells, and look at my father and literally cry and say, I don't know how they could do this to you. Those are exceptions. The rules are not based on exceptions. Several days before they separated me and my father to different prisons, I was laying in the upper bunk looking at my father's glowing smile and radiant face as he walked in place. That's the exercise, you walk in place, and he was reading Quran. I said, Ya Abati, did you ever get doubts in your iman, or your iman become weak ever in this trial that we're going through? The torture in prison, the family abandoned by the world, the illness that he's going through, the illness of my mother, may Allah raise her rank to Firdaus, loss of property, loss of nearly everything. Every last person you know is nowhere to be found, and more and more and more that you can go on. There comes a point where even the messengers say, حَتَّى إِذَا اسْتَيْأَسَ الرُّسُلُ وَظَنُّوا اسْتَيْأَسَ. Give up hope. حَتَّى يَقُولَ الرَّسُولُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ, the verse we just mentioned, مَتَى نَصْرُ اللَّهِ. The messenger and the tight-knit, which are the close believers with the messenger, get afflicted with severe poverty and illness and are shaken to the point the messenger and those next to him say, when is the victory of Allah going to come? When the messengers gave up hope, حَتَّى إِذَا اسْتَيْأَسَ الرُّسُلُ. So messengers go through this. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, when our iman used to weaken, we go to our Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah. I gave you that interest so you know what circumstances these words were said in, and you understand them. Because one laying on a mattress, $1,000 mattress or $500 mattress or a waterbed with his wife next to his side is not like one sleeping on a bunk bed in a below zero weather, near below zero weather at times, with no heat and no blanket under him or on top of him. Or sometimes it would be the opposite. In summer, it would be extremely hot and no fan or no air conditioning. And it's an extremely closed building where you barely can get any air. My father's face lit up to my question with a serious look, and he looked me in the eyes and he said, among the most inspirational things I heard in my lifetime from someone living. He said, Habibi, if this didn't happen to us, that's when I would have doubts. If this didn't happen to us, that's when I would doubt the path. As a Muslim, as a da'iyah, as a Muslim steadfast on the path, it's not the binoculars you look at life is not like others look at it. They look at life as if they're going to graduate elementary, junior high, high school, finish their grade school. Then they look at life as going to undergrad, getting a master's, maybe a PhD, in the future getting married, or during that, possibly having kids, raising kids, and working. And then after all that, retiring, sitting on a rocking chair in some beachfront secluded resort with the old wife by his side, looking at their grandkids awaiting death. As a Muslim, you live for a cause, and that's not materialistic things are not your cause. قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَاي. My life is for the sake of Allah. You strive for that cause and you endure the hardships that come along with it. You don't ask for them, but you expect them and you handle them. A man of principles and deen, let alone one who conveys it, is always going to face struggles. The sad thing is you read books and you read biography of mobsters, killers, and maybe communists and people who follow the weirdest kind of ideologies. For example, John Gotti, a mobster. They, when you read about their life, have more patience for the filth that they believe in more than the people of La ilaha illallah do, and the patience that they endure for La ilaha illallah. You're amazed at that. My father was telling me he heard an interview by the famous reciter Abu Bakr al-Shatiri. And they asked Abu Bakr al-Shatiri, why does your tone when you recite Quran, the famous reciter, you all know him, why does your tone have some sadness to it? He said, when I began to memorize the Quran, I was hit with a calamity. And then the calamities used to fall one after the other. From then till today, they fall one after another upon me. So that's the life of the believer. You have to endure it with patience and stay steadfast and firm. Have these kind of matters in your head and in your belief and in your heart. That way, when a trial comes, you're strong enough to carry it on. I could actually, one of the points I wanted to give is many people who fail the test. Many people we've heard of, and I could possibly name some names. I was going to name some. Because they're open about it. They're open about that they left the path that they were on before. Due to a small trial. Not even a trial. They seen the world's changing. Their world's review, how the world perceives things change. So they changed in accordance. How does one like that expect to be patient during trials if trials hit him? When he himself is doing it for the cause of others. Do you expect Allah to be by your side? With this we'll conclude because there's no more time.